Mexico has long been known as a land of vibrant traditions, delicious food, and colorful festivals. But beneath the beauty of this nation lies a shadow that stretches across its borders and deep into the heart of its people. That shadow is the drug cartel. For decades, cartels have dominated the landscape of organized crime, shaping not only the drug trade but also the very fabric of society. Among them, one cartel stands as the most powerful, ruthless, and influential. To step inside its world is to step into a realm where fear, loyalty, and violence walk hand in hand. The origins of Mexico's most powerful cartel can be traced back to the late 20th century when drug trafficking routes from South America to the United States began to flourish. Small groups of smugglers realized the potential of controlling entire corridors of transport. With each passing year, these groups grew more sophisticated and brutal. What began as a loosely connected network soon turned into a disciplined organization with a clear chain of command. By the early 21st century, the cartel had already become a household name, whispered with fear in both rural villages and urban centers. At the core of the cartel's success lies its ability to adapt. Unlike many criminal organizations that burn out through greed and infighting, this cartel has mastered the art of survival. It recruits from the poorest neighborhoods where young men see no future beyond poverty. Offering them money, status, and power, the cartel turns desperation into loyalty. For many of these recruits, joining the cartel is not just a choice, but a perceived necessity. Families in rural Mexico sometimes rely on the income of relatives involved in trafficking, making the lines between crime and survival dangerously blurred. The cartel operates much like a multinational corporation. There are executives who make strategic decisions, middle managers who oversee operations, and ground-level workers who execute orders. Each member knows their role, and the consequences of disobedience are severe. Punishments are not only inflicted on the individual but often extend to their families. Fear ensures loyalty, where promises alone cannot. This rigid system has allowed the cartel to maintain discipline and prevent large-scale defections. One of the most chilling aspects of the cartel's power is its control over entire communities. In some towns, the cartel is the de facto government. They collect taxes, enforce rules, and even settle disputes. Locals speak of cartel leaders who build schools, repair roads, and sponsor church festivals. Yet this apparent generosity is not born of kindness. It is a calculated strategy to win support and silence dissent. People learn quickly that speaking against the cartel brings swift retribution. Entire families have vanished overnight, accused of betrayal. The cartel's economic power is staggering. Billions of dollars flow through its networks each year. The United States remains the largest consumer of its product, and this demand fuels the endless cycle of supply. Drugs are smuggled through tunnels under the border, hidden in trucks, and even carried by drones. Every successful shipment reinforces the cartel's dominance. Attempts by authorities to block these routes are met with ingenuity and relentless determination. The cartel constantly innovates, finding new ways to stay ahead of law enforcement. Violence is both a tool and a language for the cartel. Messages are sent through acts of brutality designed to instill terror. Rival groups who attempt to challenge the cartel are swiftly dealt with in ways meant to serve as warnings. Videos of executions circulate as propaganda, reinforcing the image of invincibility. Yet violence is not only used outwardly. Internal discipline is maintained with the same ruthlessness. Even whispers of disloyalty can lead to a death sentence. For those inside, the cartel trust is the rarest currency of all. The Mexican government has waged a relentless war against the cartels, deploying military forces and launching high-profile raids. At times, it has succeeded in capturing or killing notorious leaders. But the downfall of one figure rarely cripples the organization. Like a hydra, cutting off one head only leads to the rise of others. In fact, the arrest of leaders often sparks internal power struggles that result in even greater violence on the streets. Ordinary citizens are caught in the crossfire of these battles, their lives shattered by a war they never chose. International pressure has also mounted. The United States funds operations, trains Mexican security forces, and demands results. Yet corruption remains one of the cartel's greatest weapons. Bribes infiltrate every level of government, from local police to federal officials. Court cases collapse because of missing evidence or intimidated witnesses. Journalists who investigate too deeply often pay with their lives. The truth becomes another casualty in a war where silence is safer than honesty. Despite this bleak landscape, there are voices of resistance. Brave activists, priests, and journalists continue to speak out, risking everything to expose the reality of cartel power. Communities sometimes unite to form self-defense groups, arming themselves against the criminals who have stolen their peace. These groups operate with varying degrees of success, but their existence reflects a desperate yearning for freedom from cartel dominance. Yet without systemic reform, their efforts often fall short, or are eventually infiltrated by the very corruption they fight against. The human cost of the cartel's empire is staggering. Entire generations have grown up under its shadow. Children in cartel-dominated towns dream not of becoming doctors or teachers, but of joining the ranks of the traffickers they see as heroes. Families are torn apart by addiction in the United States, where the drugs ultimately land. In Mexico, countless widows, mothers, and children live with the grief of loved ones lost to the violence. Each statistic represents a life cut short and a future stolen. From an outsider's perspective, it may seem impossible to dismantle such a powerful organization. Yet history shows that no empire lasts forever. The question is not whether the cartel will fall, but when and at what cost. The seeds of change lie in education opportunity and international cooperation. Reducing demand in the United States is as crucial as strengthening institutions in Mexico. Without addressing both sides of the equation, the cycle will continue. For now, stepping inside Mexico's most powerful cartel is like stepping into another world. It is a world of coded messages, armored convoys, and clandestine meetings. It is a place where fear and loyalty coexist, where wealth and death are inseparable. For the ordinary people who live in its shadow, survival means silence. And for the world beyond Mexico's borders, the cartel remains a reminder of the devastating power of organized crime. In the end, the story of this cartel is not only about drugs and violence, but also about humanity. It is about how communities can be corrupted by desperation, how governments can be weakened by greed, and how ordinary people can become entangled in extraordinary evil. It is a story that forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about demand, complicity, and responsibility. Inside Mexico's most powerful drug cartel, we see not only the darkness of crime but also the resilience of those who continue to fight for light.